Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, we're going to join my buddy Shane Magnuson from Upper Columbia Guide Service and Yakima Bait. We're going to find out how things are going for him real time out on the Columbia with clients, and we'll see, hopefully, that they're having a little bit of success this morning. And I can promise you that if anybody is, well, Shane's one of them. I hate following him around when I fish in the same areas that he spends his time. Guys, do we got him okay? Okay, so they're working on making sure that we get the right reception or clarity or everything. Remember, this is live television, everyone. We need to make sure that everything looks good before we bring it up, because you all know if you've watched the show for long, that things can fall apart very, very quickly. Okay, so while we're waiting for that to happen, a couple of reports that I haven't gotten to yet, in particular, the questions have been from Bonneville down to the I-5 area. Again, I kind of call that the dead zone. Everybody seems to have a little bit of a different take on what that might be. Reports yesterday, we're actually pretty darn good. And really, the only reason why I would change that report that I mentioned yesterday, that it's based on those particular zones, it seems like the in-between areas, again in the dead zone, were being productive. And some folks were dragging bottom no matter where they were, and some were fishing suspended. So it's one of those things where you got to kind of watch those electronics, because that's really the biggest question, right? We all ask, well, how deep were you? How many feet on your line counter? And we'll find out how deep Shane's been fishing, wherever it is he's at now. Shane, it's good to see you, man.
Good to see you guys.
How's your season been?
It's been really good so far. There's been a lot of fish coming through.
Now, you can find them. I know that you can find them. If they're trickling in, Shane finds them. If they're thick, he finds a lot of them. How's it going this morning? And are you seeing a lot of them on your screen?
Well, we've had a ton on the screen, and we've had a lot of opportunity this morning. We've had 9 opportunities, and unfortunately, we've only got 1 in the box so far. So, little problems getting them stuck today, but they are here and coming through.
All right, Shane, that's a perfect question, because we've been getting those same questions. Short bites. I've lost several so far this year as opposed to what I've been able to take home. Any advice? I know that you're, losing them too, even though you're one of the best out there. It just happens. But is there anything that you can do to change things up, or is it just the way the fish act when they come up to your baits?
It's the way they're acting. These fish are moving pretty fast, a little faster than normal through the system, and so they're just snapping. The best thing you can do is really leave it in the holder, let that thing fold over. I find a little looser drag so that they can kind of go with it.
Oh.
Seems to help. And then tighten it up during the fight. But yeah, it's just kind of one of those things. One day you get them all to stick, and the next you got to work through them.
I love what you mentioned there as far as your drag. That is a question that everybody has. Doesn't matter how long you've been fishing. It's always, okay, should I have it on lockdown? Should I have it relatively light? So in these situations, a little bit lighter drag for yourself and your clients, it just helps give them a little bit of room?
Yeah, I find these fish, they swim up to that spinner or that spin fish, whatever you're throwing, and they get up there and they grab it from behind and start shaking their head, back off. And that little lighter drag allows that thing to kind of keep going with them until they turn with it. And that does seem to help. I usually run my drags to the point where, it's just heavy enough that it's not clicking off the spool when we're trolling. And then a lot of times we'll throw a couple clicks on it once the fish is on.
Now, the water levels have changed a little bit on the Columbia. Obviously, they're not dumping water. The river itself is low. Tides are about a 5-foot exchange. When you're in this sort of situation, do you like to troll upriver a lot, downriver, or do you have a preference?
I'm here below Bonneville today, and we've got most of our bites today pointing upriver, kind of just sitting in the current, creeping forward. But when I was here a couple days ago, we were getting them all trolling downhill. And I think it has a lot to do with what the current's doing. Some days when the current's really slack, that downhill bite can be better. And then when they're running a little bit of current, just sit and wait for them to come through is better. So you got to play with it a little.
Are you dragging bottom right now, Shane? I mean, we don't need to know exactly where you're at, but if you're under 30 feet, do you like to be on the bottom, or even deeper? Do you like to be on the bottom or suspended, or both?
The river's still 69 degrees up here, so I am hugging bottom pretty tight. But I've noticed quite a few fish up off the bottom this morning, kind of all over the water column. But for the most part, they're down there hugging it tight.
Yesterday, we had your good friend, Jared Higginbotham, on from Yakima Bait, and we mentioned briefly that there's a new bait that's coming out. We've kind of hinted towards this on GPS a few times. It's not going to be available on the shelves until latter part of this year or into January. But are you using that new cut pluck bait that you've designed?
Yeah, I've got one on out of 5 rods right now. The last couple days, it's been a little bit more of a spinner bite for us. We've got all Hildebrandt blades on, and that's kind of been the go for us. But here, there's been a couple days this last week where they definitely wanted that new cut plug and the stuffer baits.
When you notice the fish kind of go from wanting spinners or wanting stuffer baits, spin fish, or something alike, what is it that tells you that you need to go from one to the other? Is it current? Is it just as simple as that a fish bit a spinner? What do you do to make that decision to swap them all out to stuffers?
Well, a lot of it, I think, up here has to do with water temperature. Here about a week ago, we had kind of a cold front come through. The river was starting to cool down. We started getting bit really well off the stuffer baits and the tuna fish, the cut plugs. And then this week we had that high front come in, and as everything warmed back up this week, I kind of saw it migrate back over to spinners. So there's definitely something to do with the temperature there of what they want, one versus the other.
Shane, it's obviously we're coming up on a closure, right? The 15th of September, it shuts down. But for you, what's your plan if that stays true? What's your plan post the 15th?
Both the wind and Drano stay open. It'll be busy, but they get a good number of fish. So we'll hang out in there for a little while until we start coho fishing.
Yes, and we're all looking forward to that. That's after elk season's done and before duck season starts. I'll be looking forward to that as well. Last question, Shane, before we got to cut away. Number one, thanks for spending some time with us, man. When you got clients, I know that it's not easy to do. But what's your availability like? Are you booked up as you go forward through the remainder of 24? Are you already booking for 25?
We have a little bit availability. We've been running some doubles lately because the fish have been so good. So if somebody wants to do an evening trip, they are some of those available. And of course, we're looking at the coho season. So we can get people in there with the number of coho we got coming.
That's Shane Magnuson. He's the owner-operator of Upper Columbia Guide Service, and of course, with the folks from Yakima Bait. Be sure to look for that new bait coming out. What are you going to call it?
It's right now it's called the Yakima Bait Cut Plug. It's pretty simple, right on the package.
All right, very cool. Shane, thank you. We appreciate you taking some time for us, man. Good luck. Be safe.
All right, thank you, guys.
You bet. All right, we're going to cut to a break. When we come back, we're going to have your pike minnow numbers for you, and we'll wrap things up and give you an idea what we got going on for Saturday. We'll be right back.